welcome to this video. So today I have a different sort of video because most of the videos that involve manga are like hauls and things. I feel like I don't get enough time to like highlight my more favourite series and things like that. For the end of the year I thought I would talk about my favourite reads of the year. So this is just series that I read throughout the month of 2022. They didn't have to come out in that month, I just had to have read them within 2022. I also had a personal rule where I had to have read at least 3 volumes because I feel like with 3 volumes you can get a general scope of what the series is going to be like. So yeah, any series that I read like less than 3 volumes aren't included unless they are one-shot, but no one-shots made this list. There's a spoiler. Without further ado, I'm going to go into this video. It's not very scripted, so I'm hoping I don't ramble too much. And also I'm going to try asking something that I don't normally do, but I thought I would do it for once just to see if it does actually make a difference. If you like this video, please leave a like, and if you enjoy my content and don't find me too annoying, no, not please, subscribe. And yeah, if you want to follow me on Instagram or Twitter, the socials are down below. And yeah, that's it for that. We're gonna go into the first pick now. For the order, there is sort of a general order of 5 to 1, and I do have my most favourite read. It's a very loose order. For the first read that I enjoyed the most this year, I have picked Lovesick Ellie. I actually was debating a lot whether or not I wanted to include this series on this list just because it's not the most amazing thing ever, but with the amount of enjoyment that the series gave me, I thought it was fair. This is a shoujo rom-com series about this girl who basically fantasizes and has a Twitter account where she writes her fantasies about having a boyfriend, and she uses a certain guy as kind of like a model for these fantasies. Obviously she ends up entangled with this guy and eventually develops a relationship with him, and it sounds very cliche and it definitely hits all of the shoujo romance cliches, but it does it in such a nice and refreshing way that it's still enjoyable. The art is very pretty, like nothing spectacular, but it's perfect for this type of series where it's like very soft and fluffy. I enjoyed the characters, I enjoyed the relationship dynamic between the couple. Even though it sounds like it's going to be weird and very unhealthy and potentially kind of toxic, it's actually a really healthy relationship in my opinion. I read the entirety of the series in January digitally on a Kodansha, and then it's been getting physical releases recently. I believe volume 7 just came out. So yeah, I highly recommend, if you enjoy shoujo romance, to give this one a go. I know it's a bit weird with what the main character Ellie is like, or Erica I believe her name actually is, but it's just a very fun like turn your brain off series, and sometimes you need those in your life just to have, you know, something to wind down, just enjoy, have some heart-fluttering moments. So yes, that is Lovesick Ellie, and my favourite read of 2022. So for the next series I've picked, it's actually going to be potentially slightly controversial, and that is Our Dreams at Dusk. This is complete at 4 volumes, and I have read all 4 volumes of this series. I say this is controversial because I feel like this is a series you either love or you think it's a bit much or a bit triggering, which yes, it definitely is. It is a Own Voices LGBTQ+ story, and it has very intense triggering topics like homophobia, bullying, suicide, you know, those type of things. So obviously it's not going to be something I would recommend to everyone, and I definitely would not recommend it to everyone. I would only recommend it if it's something I feel like you could read without being mentally affected, and I'm one of those people. I don't really get triggered by topics in series. I'm not good with horror, but other than that I don't really get triggered. But the reason why I have picked this for this read is, first of all, I think it was the perfect length. 4 volumes did what it needed to do. It showcased what the authors wanted to talk about without having it drag on too long. I also am a huge fan of stuff which is very based on like symbolism, visual metaphors, where the author doesn't exactly tell you everything and you kind of have to work it out for yourself, like based on visual clues and stuff. And I can't think of another manga series I have read that has done it as well as this one has. I'm not saying there aren't others that have done it as well or even better, but out of the ones I've read, this has definitely done it the best. It is very, I guess, artistic in its representation of the themes it's trying to convey. I also really like the fact that it showed different people within the community, a bit of representation of all age groups, all kind of sexualities and things like that. And yeah, I just think it is worth a read if you think you can handle the triggering topics, because yes, I know a lot of people dislike it because of how intense the homophobia is, and I've heard some people say that like they didn't think it needed to be that intense to convey the message, and I agree to a certain extent, but I think I understood the intention behind it. And as I said, personally, even if I find it uncomfortable, I'm okay reading it. because yes, it definitely did make me uncomfortable while reading it, but that's what kind of why I appreciated it, if that makes sense. It probably doesn't. If anything, I'd recommend this to people outside of the community to read rather than people within the community, just because I think you would get more out of it, and obviously less likely to be personally affected because you can't relate it to your own experiences. Sorry if that was a bit too much on heavy for a favourite read, but I did want to give this series a shout out because I did enjoy it for what it was. So that was that read. So for the next series, I actually don't have a physical copy of it because I was really hopeful that it would arrive in the mail before I filmed this, but it has not. It's somewhere in the postal system and it is December, so who knows when that's going to arrive. But I love this series so much, so it was impossible not to talk about it, and that is Usatoki Rhetoric. I adored this series so much. I saw that it was getting an English physical release, and I saw the genres and the synopsis, so I thought, oh, I'm gonna give it a shot for when it comes out, and I wanted to preview the first volume just to see if it was really something that I'd be interested in, and I loved it so much I ended up binging the entire series in a few days instead of waiting for physical releases because I am really bad and impatient, but I of course will be buying every physical release as it comes out. I've already pre-ordered volume 2 and I'm very excited for it. But this is a mystery series set in, I believe it's 1920s Japan, about this girl who can hear lies, and she basically runs into a detective, becomes his assistant and helps him along with solving mysteries. It is a very episodic mystery series. There are very few mysteries that go over a chapter. There are some that go over several chapters, but for the most part it's solved in 1 or 2. And I really, really adored this series. It kind of felt like the shoujo version of a series called Hyoka, which is one of my favourite anime series, if it was a lot more focused on the mystery aspect and was set in 1920s Japan and had less visual imagery. But it did kind of give off that vibe, especially with the main characters and their personalities. They weren't exactly the same, but they had a very similar vibe, and I just absolutely loved it. I loved their dynamic throughout the entire series. It is technically a romance series. There aren't many romantic elements if that is what you're interested in. However, the relationship between them is probably one of my favourites, even including like romantic relationships. I just loved their dynamic a lot, and I found the mysteries intriguing. There was some, I managed to solve along the way, and that was very self-fulfilling, and I'm very excited to reread it as the physical releases come out. But yes, I'm hoping everyone will give this series a shot. It is published by One Piece Books, so I don't know how many people know about it, but yes, please give it a chance if you enjoy mystery series. And the art is very pretty as well, in my opinion. So yes, that was Usatoki Rhetoric. And for my next favourite read, I have The Girl from the Other Side. This just made the cut. I've only read the first 3 volumes, but these first 3 volumes were so amazing it would be impossible not to include on this list, and especially this high on this list. It was so good. I have heard a couple things about maybe the ending not being as satisfying, but I'm not thinking about that right now. Just what I have read was amazing, and it was so good. This is a gothic fantasy series about a society which is split between insiders and outsiders. Insiders are your like regular people, and the outsiders are those who have this terrible curse that turn them into monsters, and if the outsiders touch the insiders then they'll get this curse, and it follows specifically this little girl who is an insider but is currently being taken care of an outsider, and it is just a gorgeous series from the story writing to the art, which perfectly complements it, and it's a lot darker than you'd think it would be, especially with the concept of, oh, it's this monster taking care of this little girl, you think it's going to be cute and wholesome. It is a lot darker than that, and I'm expecting it to get even more so potentially. There is sort of a underlying mystery going on throughout it, which I'm very excited to learn more about. And I've talked a lot about how much I love these editions. These editions are so pretty. I was really hoping the second one would arrive by the time I filmed this video so I could have read more of it, because I want to read this like immediately, but I'm just waiting for it to arrive. This is my like most anticipated read at the moment. The moment it gets in, I am going to be reading it immediately. So this series, I cannot recommend it enough, especially if you like fantasy stuff with darker themes and topics and art style. And yeah, The Girl from the Other Side. So before I move on to my favourite read of 2022, I just want to give a shout out to some honourable mentions that didn't quite make the list because of various reasons, but I still really love them and I wanted to give them a shout out. So the first would be Children of the Whales. The reason that this didn't make the list is because I've only read 2 volumes so far, but that would have probably taken the first spot if I had read more of it, just because of how much I loved it so far. So, but yeah, so I just wanted to give that a shout out. And then the last series, I'm not going to be able to pronounce the name of, but I just want to put it on screen. The reason why I haven't included this one is because I've only been able to read it online because it's not available anywhere in English. So I didn't feel right including it on the list. However, I really love this series. It's a shonen romance series that is very sweet. Kind of a forbidden lovers trope with a like rivalry between two schools, but it's very sweet and wholesome and about accepting yourself. It was really good. So I wanted to give a shout out to that series, and hopefully it will eventually get an English release so more people can love it. And yeah, it really deserves it. So with those honourable mentions out of the way, we're going to move on to my favourite series of 2022. Now this is probably no surprise to anyone that's watched some of my earlier hauls, but my favourite read of 2022 was Wake Up Sleeping Beauty by Megami Morono. I love the series. It's a 6-volume series, so very short and sweet, but it is the perfect length. It didn't drag on too long, didn't feel too rushed, everything was resolved, all the characters were really well fleshed out, and I just loved every second of this series. That's a lie. I was a bit hesitant for the first volume and a half, but after I got past that, I got so invested in the series so quickly, and I really hope if people feel the same as I did in that first volume, they keep trying, because this series was just really special to me and I really enjoyed it. It's basically a romance drama slice of life series that follows this guy called Tetsu, who is a house worker at this like large manor, and he ends up meeting the daughter of the house who has something along the lines of dissociative identity disorder, and he basically helps her kind of get used to facing the world because she has been shut in due to this disorder. It has a small supernatural twist, and as I said, it doesn't actually have dissociative identity disorder, it's just something like that, and it's just easiest to explain it that way without getting too into it and also without spoiling things. This series has topics about like relationships, not just between like romantic partners but also friends and family, and I love this series so much. The art style is beautiful. I just love this author's works in general. They have another work coming out next year in English, which I'm very excited for, called A Condition Called Love, which is also a phenomenal series. But for series that I read in 2022, this is my absolute favourite. I wish that everyone would give it a chance, especially because it's only 6 volumes, and I know for a while volume 4 was hard to find, but that got reprinted and is easier to find. So I really hope people give this series a shot. One of my favourite things of the series is due to the nature of the female lead Shizu's condition, where she has kind of these different personalities. I really like how you can see which personality she is by how she is drawn in that moment, or how she is conveyed. Like every time she was a different personality, you could almost instantly tell who it was. Just based on how they were drawn or how they act or what they were wearing and things like that. I know that's such like a weird thing to point out, but it's details like this that I really appreciate in stories, and yeah, I just wish that everyone would give this a shot. I know I've said that multiple times, but really, if you've learned anything from this video, give this series a try. But yes, that was the end of this video. I hope I have maybe brought some series to your attention that you did not know about before, and I hope everyone has a great rest of the year. I don't know when this will be posted, but I think it'll be just before Christmas, so if you celebrate Christmas, happy Christmas to you. Any other holidays that need to be celebrated, I hope those go well too, and yeah, thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. I hope you stay happy, stay healthy, and all that fun stuff, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye!